Welcome to Silverman Law Firm's Weekly Docket, episode 53, where we talk legal news and practical law. Today is January 16th, 2025, and I'm your host, Phil Silverman, owner of the firm, and I'm joined by my co-host, Austin Black, who works in our Dallas office. And Austin, this is episode 53. The last episode, we forgot to congratulate ourselves on celebrating episode 52, which marks 52 weeks in a row, our one-year anniversary of the podcast. So
we made it.
Yes,
surprise. We made it.
This is our celebration episode. Thank you for putting up with me for a year.
Yeah, thank you for putting up with me.
All right, what's on our docket today, Mr. Black?
So our docket for today starts with our legal news section as per usual. We'll be going over the FDA banning red food dye. See, I heard about this. I saw news articles about this, and specifically in the headline, I saw that they did not mention what number it was. And so I instantly knew it was not red 40, because if it was red 40, that was going to be in every news article, news title, right? Because of how prevalent it is. I knew it wasn't. I was right. It was red number 3. Okay, we'll talk about that. And then SCOTUS on a few different things, right? The Supreme Court ruled, or sort of ruled, on the Trump hush money case, what if they were going to step in on that or not. We'll let you know how that turned out. They have not ruled yet on the TikTok ban, but that sort of in and of itself can somewhat be a ruling. They may come down with something today. We don't know. And then age verification for explicit content in Texas and some other states. So yeah, going over all those things. And then moving on to our legal questions section, we'll answer the question, is it a good idea to be a trustee for your sibling after your mother and father die? Now, hopefully that's not a very tragic situation where they pass away while your sibling is still underage, but we'll let you know if that's a good idea or not. And then rant and rave. We are talking about Google Gemini as an AI bot. How great it is. So,
no, it's sort of a mini rant and rave, and it came up when I was preparing for the podcast, and we're talking about why Gemini is a liar. That's what we're talking about.
Yeah.
And I want you to tell me later on what's red food dye number 40. I want to know. I want to learn all about that. But this one's about red food dye number 3. So
sounds good.
All right, let's go ahead and kick it off with our legal news section. And we're talking about, red food dye is the first thing we've got on the list. And the story is the FDA, Food and Drug Administration, bans red food dye number 3. It's also known as, and I'm going to mispronounce this, but maybe erythrocin, something like that. And it's a synthetic color. It's an additive derived from coal tar.
Nice.
I
always hear that's good to eat.
Yeah, well, I mean, people would say, I heard some of the critics and commentators saying, oh, it's basically like you're eating petroleum. So I guess that's where that comes from. But yeah, it's derived from coal tar. So not something you want to eat, as Austin points out.
Yeah.
There's been some studies suggesting, and I think the key word here is suggesting, that red dye number 3 may cause cancer in animals. I think they did some mouse studies, some rat studies, gave them some red food dye number 3, determined that there was a causal connection between that and cancer. So FDA comes out and says, hey, no more.
No more.
Yeah. What's commonly, this thing's commonly used in it's all over the place. Candies, baked goods, beverages. What's some of the things, Austin, on the list that people may recognize if you've been consuming a lot of red food dye number 3?
So I will just say the first thing on this list, I am in favor of it being banned. Highly in favor. Brach's candy corn. I hate candy corn made by anyone, but especially Brach's. That stuff is revolting. There are 2 types of people in the world: people who dislike candy corn and people who are wrong. Okay, and I'm sorry if you fall into that category. I'm sorry if you like. I know you don't really eat candy.
No, I don't eat it, but I have had it before, and I hate it. I hate it as well.
Good. Very
my family, my kids and my wife love it. I think it's weirdly disgusting.
Yes,
and I'm so glad this is now banned. They're going to have to come up with some other way to color, but it's not even red. It's like
It
orange.
must use it to make the orange on it or
Yeah,
something.
yeah,
I don't
yeah,
know, but like I feel the same way about that I feel about like buttered popcorn jelly beans. Ugh, both disgusting,
yeah.
both in the same category. Anyways, Little Bites mini muffins.
Okay, I'm never buying those again. I've bought those for my kids.
Yeah, I
My
didn't
kids.
even know those had coloring. I was like,
No,
what?
I guess it's the birthday cake ones with the little sprinkles. Right? Yeah,
Yeah, that makes sense. Makes sense. Anything with red icing for the most part.
yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So if the Rockets win the NBA Finals and you have like a big Rockets celebration cake in red,
Yes,
not
that's
we
probably
don't have
as
to worry
red.
about that because the Rockets are
Agreed.
not winning the finals. But yeah, all right.
um, Mini popsicles. Did you see there's this new popsicle made with it's like a collaboration between I think one of the popsicle companies and Trolley, like the gummy company.
Okay, I have not seen that.
It's like a gummy popsicle. It like flops. It's really disturbing
Yeah,
looking. It
this
has
is
the consistency of a gummy while being a popsicle.
okay.
Yeah, yeah,
There you go. No, I hadn't seen
yeah.
that. But
And then sodas and the Yoo-hoo strawberry drink. So
yeah, you. This goes back to us talking about staying out of the minus the refrigeration section. Stay out of the center of the grocery store aisle, like the foods with preservatives in them, and then I guess you don't want to buy anything that's doesn't exist in nature that is not naturally red, right? So I heard one Canadian, he was sort of in Canada has said, by the way, this stuff is okay. They're eating it in Canada, right? So, but one Canadian guy said, you can use beets to color your candies if you want.
okay.
I think the kids are going to love that, guys. So
I've had things that are colored with beets, and I don't taste the beets, but
don't taste the
so
beets.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, all right. Well, the beat goes on. So the
Mm,
ban will not be immediate, and companies will have a grace period. They have a long time to get rid of this stuff. So a long time of carcinogens being out there in the food until January of 2027,
okay.
until they've got to start getting this stuff out of their food. So what are the critics saying, Austin? Do you have that?
Yes, critics say that studies suggesting a linkage between red dye number 3 and cancer in animals are not conclusive.
Yeah, they're saying they also said they much higher. The studies included much higher dosages in than what humans
Than
are
what
giving
humans are
you.
usually
So
consuming. Sure, that's true. I mean, I don't know. I feel like everything can give you cancer nowadays. Like when the other day when the Surgeon General like put out a report saying alcohol linked to higher cancer, like what? I feel like that's not surprising at all.
no. I don't drink either, but
Yeah.
I did see that if you're a man, a moderate drinker is considered 14 drinks a week. And if you're a woman, it's considered 7 drinks a week. So if you're a man, you can actually double your alcohol intake and still be considered a moderate drinker.
Mm,
So,
really? You
yeah,
can double it. Huh.
I have seen some studies on the alcohol stuff, and they're, if you're the short answer, if you don't have other, comorbidities and like you're really
Mm,
fat or have you smoke or anything like that, yeah, a couple drinks a week, it does not significantly change your risk of cancer. But once you get
yes.
into some number of statistically significant number, whatever that is, maybe like 7 drinks, it does start to go up. Is what I've
Yeah.
seen, but
Yeah.
um, the critics out there say that's not conclusive. My answer or response to the critics is: do you really want to eat, coal tar? And if it's not good, if it's not good for cosmetics, which doesn't go into your body, presumably, I don't know how most people put on their makeup, Austin, but if you're if it's not allowed for cosmetics, and this was part of the FDA, it was actually not the FDA, the Federal Food, Drug, and Cosmetic Act, enacted in 1958, and there's this Delaney clause in it, and it said that you can't put the thing in cosmetics
Mm,
because it was found to cause cancer back in 1958. But
yeah.
somehow they decided it was okay to eat the stuff.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure how that makes sense. But okay, tell us, what is red food dye number 40, and why is that one so much more controversial?
It's used in a lot more things, for one thing, There are many, many candies that it's used in. I think like we listed certain things that 3 was used in, but one
Hmm.
so Red 40 is used in ketchup, many breakfast
Okay.
cereals, a
Okay.
lot of
So
ice cream, baked
okay.
goods,
Okay.
chocolate
So
candy. Yeah.
red 40 is just generally more pervasive, right? Is what you're
Yeah, and people think that it causes DNA damage. So, yeah.
interesting thing. I think this red dye number 3 also, the allegations are it causes attention deficit disorder, or at
Mm,
least makes it worse. I don't know.
sure.
Red food dye 40 may do that too. I know a lot of parents that swear like no red dye anything if you
Yeah.
get an ADHD kid or whatever. But
Yeah, of course.
all right, well, FDA has banned it, and remember, we've got Robert Kennedy coming in to save the day on health in America.
Great.
So I think they're getting geared up for
Mm,
his taking over of the FDA, and I think this is a good thing. I think we should all only eat vegetables and meat and nuts and healthy things. But I think Robert Kennedy agrees with me, or I agree with him. But I
mm,
don't think we're going to win on that. I'm also somewhat of a libertarian. So maybe if you want to go kill yourself with eating coal tar, maybe you should be able to do that. So.
sure.
All right, that brings us to our next legal story, and this is more just like a SCOTUS update. Supreme Court of the United States, U.S. Supreme Court update, talking about kind of the big 3 cases they're hearing arguments on right now. And the first one is the Trump hush money case. The news on this is SCOTUS, the Supreme Court refused to hear the Trump case, right?
Mm.
Do you remember the background on that, Austin? Tell the listeners just real quick, like what's
Yeah,
going on.
so Trump was going to be sentenced in the hush money case in New York. It was a state court case. So again, he cannot pardon himself for that. Um, and he asked SCOTUS to step in and somehow stop the sentencing. I don't think they
Right.
have the authority to do that, but somehow stop the sentencing. SCOTUS declined in a 5-4 ruling. A 5-4 ruling they declined.
It was close. It was close.
Ah,
It was close.
yes. I guess when you give Alito a call and ask him if there's anything you can do for him,
Yeah.
maybe that does make it a little bit closer.
Yeah.
Um,
I wonder if Alito was on the side to hear it or not. But
I'm sure Alito was on the side to hear it.
well, look,
And he was actually. I
he
know he
was
was.
okay. The short of it is the Supreme Court refused to hear it. Trump was sentenced. Okay, is a big nothing. He appeared virtually. The New York judge Juan Merchan, he got his 15 minutes of fame,
Mm.
and he sentenced him. It was an unconditional discharge, which basically means Trump gets no punishment of any material substance, but he's a convicted felon now.
Yeah.
So Merchan basically lectured him and said, "Hey, you're a convicted felon." Trump did have an opportunity to speak back, speak back to the judge and tell the judge what he thought. What's the quote we've got from Trump there? What did
He
Trump
said
say?
it's been a political witch hunt. It was done to damage my reputation so that I'd lose the election, and obviously that didn't work. And the people of our country got to see firsthand because they watched the case in your courtroom, and then they voted, and I won. Yes.
That's a really good Trump impression, by the way.
Thank you. Thank you.
And Trump basically said, "Screw you, I won. Sentence me if you want, but I'm the president, and you're a state court judge named Juan Merchan." That's how that went. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, let's move on to something a little bit more important too. I guess more important. It's somewhat important to me. I've got a big TikTok.
Yeah. Have you
following.
downloaded Red Note?
I have not yet.
I've been brushing up on my Mandarin. It's great.
I thought you would be over that. Tell everybody what Red Note is, and tell everybody what it means to be a TikTok refugee.
Red Note is so. Well, the U.S. government is very worried about TikTok having affiliations with the Chinese Communist Party. Red Note basically is just actually owned by the Chinese Communist Party. And people who are worried about TikTok getting banned are fleeing to Red Note because it has a similar interface to TikTok. And they are learning Chinese because everyone's speaking Chinese in the comments section. It's very funny.
Okay, great. So those communists going to Red Note will be prosecuted. That's what
along with me.
Along with you. Everybody, we're bringing back McCarthy, and you're going to be prosecuted if you go to Red Note. But All right. No, I have not flew the coop over to Red Note. I still have a TikTok account. We'll post on it for as long as it happens. TikTok is supposed to shut down this Sunday, January 19th. It's a First Amendment deal. TikTok saying, don't shut us down. We have First Amendment rights, and so do the 170 million users. U.S. government says, no, it's a national security threat. All right. So we had oral arguments come out. So we had oral arguments occur, and it's not looking good for TikTok. All right.
No.
Justice Clarence Thomas, conservative justice, asked TikTok's lawyer how a restriction on ByteDance ownership of TikTok created any limitation on TikTok's speech, right? So, and several of the justices are hitting this theme. It's like, we're not limiting corporate free speech here. We're just saying, ByteDance, because you're a Chinese company, manipulated and basically controlled by the Chinese government, you can't own TikTok. That doesn't restrict your free speech. So a lot of the justices are hitting that note, so to speak. So also, ByteDance is a foreign corporation. No law that say foreign corporations have any rights to free speech. Amy Coney Barrett, kind of agreed along those lines. She says it just requiring you to sell TikTok. It's if TikTok gets shut down, that's just your choice. You chose not to sell it. This isn't a free speech issue, right? That's what they're saying. Now, some of the justices go even further than that. I really like some of these comments and quotes by Justice John Roberts, his observations, and Justice Brett Kavanaugh. Can you give the listeners a little flavor of what those guys are saying, Austin?
Yeah, Roberts observed that though it was contended that TikTok is a U.S. company, Congress concluded that the ultimate company that controls TikTok is, quote, subject to Chinese laws, including an obligation to assist the Chinese government with intelligence work. And Roberts asked the attorney for TikTok if the justices and the U.S. government is just supposed to ignore that. So.
Yeah. I mean, good question. I mean, people think the Supreme Court is supposed to operate in this vacuum of judicial law and order, so to speak, and they're somehow supposed to be apart from the political mindset and world affairs. That's just not true. I mean, and John Roberts has just come out and said, hey, we're not going to let the Chinese take over the country. But Brett Kavanaugh has some good insight on it. He says, hey, China's using TikTok to access information about millions of U.S. citizens, particularly young people, and could in the future use that information and try to recruit spies to manipulate future U.S. officials. I mean, he kind of takes that, several steps in the future. I've never heard anyone say it, sort of that brashly about Chinese intentions, but he put it out there on the line. And
he's put a lot of things out there online.
Yes, that's right. That seems like a huge concern for the future of the United States, Kavanaugh says. So
I personally think Brett Kavanaugh is just worried that if TikTok continues to exist, there could be more videos resurfacing of him doing keg stands. So
quite possible. So I was watching some, what's the guy's name? Hegseth, his confirmation hearings. Did you see any of it?
Yeah.
And one of the, am I pronouncing that right? Hegseth?
I think so. I don't know. Yeah.
He's up for Secretary of Defense, and they were beating the guy up on.
This is the Fox News guy, right?
Yes, Fox News commentator. Up for, he's not Super Bowl qualified, but he's up for Secretary of Defense, and they're talking about some of his issues with alcohol. And one of the Republican senators says, "How many times have we come here at night and showed up and voted on something drunk?" So.
What?
There was just open.
That does not help your argument to confirm him. That instead makes a whole new argument that you should be disqualified.
There were allegations that Hegseth was showing up drunk at work, right?
No, I get that, but why was he asking that? It sounds, in the context you said it sounds like the Republicans said like that's a common thing.
The Republican Center pointed out that when we are here to vote on bills, that's what we do as senators, right? we're working. And when you call us in at night to vote, because we're all out there in DC having a great time, with cocaine and hookers and a little
Oh my
alcohol,
gosh.
we come back to vote, and we're all a little under the influence when we vote. That was, and there was audible laughter when the guy said that. I mean,
I'm sure.
that's the deal.
So bad.
Let's look up Hegseth. That's the guy's name. So I don't know. All right, that's what happened. But it's not looking good for TikTok. All right.
Yeah.
But don't worry, okay, because the Chinese government has approved Elon Musk to buy TikTok and operate it through Twitter. So
is that real?
That's real. You didn't hear that?
No, I didn't.
It is real, and
so is it going to?
It's currently in the works. Last I heard, as of yesterday, we're shooting today on Thursday. Things in podcast world, I mean, it's hard to do podcasts.
Things move very quickly. Yes.
Right. And it's like we're shooting this now and it gets released tomorrow. So by the time it's released, but who knows? But yeah, as of yesterday, it was a real deal. Like, the Chinese like Elon Musk because he has this history of operating Tesla in China, right?
Yeah.
So, and the Chinese government said, well, look, if we're going to divest TikTok, we think Elon is a guy that has done business with us. We want Elon and Twitter to have it.
Yeah.
And it's a real deal. But the WTF here, Austin, I don't know what, I'm trying not to be crass about it, right? But oh my goodness, the lawyers for TikTok and the CEO of TikTok, Xiao Chu, or however you pronounce that, they have been telling everybody for the last 6 months that the Chinese government has no control over us. Well, if that's true, then why is the Chinese government the one calling the shots on who gets to buy TikTok, right?
But just to be clear, the CEO of TikTok is not Chinese.
Yeah, okay. We're not going back to that.
Oh no. I know. But you just like, I think you said the Chinese government and then Xiaochu next, like implying that they're like
yes. I know. Yes, Austin is 100% correct. Shou Chu, if that's how you pronounce his name, he is from Singapore. Okay. And if you're a Republican senator, those are different places.
Those are different places, and you should not act like you do not understand that in a Senate hearing.
Right.
That looks really bad.
But okay, that's fine, but this is still crazy that you've told the Supreme Court and you've told all of Congress that TikTok is not controlled by the Chinese, but the Chinese are calling the shots on.
Chinese are the ones that have to approve it. Yes, exactly.
Yeah. So I mean, there you go. I mean, I just that fired me up. That should have really been our rant and rave. Okay.
Yeah.
But this is how fast this stuff is moving now, Austin. This just in. Trump has now said he's going to stop the ban as of like an hour ago with an executive order on the day he takes office.
Okay. Sure. Try that. I do not see a single legal avenue for him to stop that ban, but sure.
I've got one. Okay. So Austin's pointing out there's a problem. One, the ban takes place on Sunday, the 19th. Trump is inaugurated on the 20th, which is Monday. So it's like TikTok is already going to be banned when he takes office. Okay. Now, Austin's point, it is a law. You can't, the executive branch, there are checks and balances. The executive branch can't just kind of undo a law. Because Joe Biden it was a bill. It became a law. When Joe Biden signed it, it became a law. The executive branch at that time had an opportunity to veto it. President Biden did not.
Yes.
And at the time, Trump was for it.
Yes.
And now it's going to be a law. And you can't just ban a law. You have to go back to Congress to do that. That's obvious, right? So there is one thing though. There is something in the law that says, if ByteDance is in negotiations to sell it, the executive branch has the power to extend the operation of TikTok for 90 days.
Yep.
Now, even that is problematic because it's already the law doesn't say it can get banned and the executive branch can undo it, right? Yeah. But that's that's where we are. And TikTok CEO, who's sitting front row, at the inauguration is TikTok CEO Shou Chu.
Yeah.
Right there where the presidents sit and all that. So, all right. That's where we are with TikTok. That's coming fast and furious. It's probably going to change by the time we release, but we're keeping everybody posted on that. All right. We've got to move on to the next case. Age verification for porn in Texas. I think Austin said it with a little more tact. what did you call it, Austin? What were your words again?
I said explicit content.
Explicit content. All
Yeah.
right. Well, let's just call a spade a spade. You got a bunch of kids looking at porn, okay, and people all over the country looking at porn, and everyone wants to protect young people and children.
Mm.
And Texas, our home state, sued and said, "Hey," or they didn't sue. Texas, our home state, created a law that said porn sites, you have to actually do something to verify people's age. So if you're going to access a pornography site, you need to verify. And now, Austin, the technology is there. You can do that with facial recognition. You can submit identification. We did this on a previous show, and our thoughts. Hey, look, you go down to the store, all right, the grocery store in Texas or the corner store. You're buying, your necessities, your beer, bait, and ammo, as we do in Texas. You give the guy ID, right? So how is it different? You want to look at pornography, you need to show your ID. They would say that your right to buy beer, bait, and ammo is not a free speech issue. Pornography is a free speech. Your right to look at pornography is a free speech issue. But Austin, this one thing shocked me. Okay. This is from a veteran Supreme Court litigator with Williams and Connolly LLP. Lisa Blatt says more people watch porn and view porn each year than vote and read the newspaper.
That's not surprising to me.
Shocking to me. But
shocking to you, really?
I didn't know how pervasive it was. I just didn't understand.
I mean, what was the other one? So it was read the news, and what was the other one? Vote.
Vote, yeah.
That's not surprising to me at all. Like with the numbers and how few people vote and how few people read the news. Yeah,
we need to. We need to get some. There's some numbers out there. We need to get some numbers on the. I mean, that's one of those polls that will.
That should be a requirement. That should be a requirement, right? Like you have to at least read one newspaper and vote in one election every year to watch porn. That's what you should. That's what we should do. Maybe get voting numbers.
Yeah, it's getting voting numbers way up. I mean, I wonder what the numbers are for people watching porn in the country. I don't know.
It's crazy. Yeah.
Well, so we don't want. Everyone's in agreement that we want to protect children. We don't want children seeing porn. We know that children very young are going on the internet. They're searching for things they shouldn't be searching for. They're finding things they shouldn't be looking at. It's damaging children. Everyone's in agreement. We want to protect.
69% of American men, 40% of American women view porn online each year. So
the women number is the shocking one to me. But I mean, it's a lot of. I mean, that's a huge.
Crazy.
It's almost everybody.
Yeah, almost everybody.
So almost everybody. I mean, So all right, this is the case. Texas passed a law. It requires, porn sites basically that to use reasonable age verification methods. I mean, this is no more just, click the button and say you're 18. Okay. This is show us something. And of course the porn industry, through whoever their lobby, whoever does the stuff for them, they file a lawsuit. And they're saying, no, this violates all kinds of free speech issue, right? So they had oral arguments on this thing. Have you seen the oral arguments yet? Don't look, or no? Okay. What's your guess? Before you look at these oral arguments, Austin has not seen these comments from the justices yet. Austin, what's your guess on which way the justices appear to be leaning at this point? Now, I'm going to tell you one more thing before you guess while you're thinking about it. All right. 20 years ago, in remarkably a similar case, and it was Ashcroft v. ACLU, the high court struck down. There were federal legislation that would have required age verification, and the Supreme Court struck it down 20 years ago. So, all right, which way do you think?
I would hope that I don't really know. I would hope that like modern day, with the amount of research that we have on the negative effects of porn, that justices would consider that and think that age verification is fine.
Okay. Well, it's 2 hours of oral arguments. I think the Supreme Court, they seem to think the Supreme Court is in sync on there should be some sort of requirement of age verification. They're concerned, that like the burden that you put on adults, right? They're concerned about that. But We think that where this law is going to be upheld in some form is the way the oral arguments are going. We've got some quotes. Justice Brett Kavanaugh. Do you have? Can you see that quote from Justice Brett?
Yeah,
Kavanaugh?
I do. He said, "Do you dispute?" He said to the porn industry lawyers, "Do you dispute the societal problems that are created both short term and long term from the rampant access to pornography for children?" And the lawyer responded, "That is a complicated question, and I don't know that I can speak to that definitively."
Okay, why can't the guy just say yes? It harms children. The justices are
Yeah.
all. Why do lawyers do this?
Because, well, I think because in this situation, like if you admit that, you just lose, right?
No, because I mean you have to pick your battles. This is a case about free speech
Sure.
and whether you're balancing the everybody agrees that we want to protect children. But we have to balance how much we want to protect children, and as important as that is, against how much we're going to burden the adults that want to look at porn. Those are the two competing forces, right? Yes. So everybody's in agreement that we want to protect the kids. And why can't the lawyer just have said, Judge, there's a lot of evidence out there that porn is not good for kids. We all agree on that. Okay. That doesn't lose your case because, but just, and it's not judge, you say justice, Justice Kavanaugh, we all agree it's harmful for kids and there's a lot of evidence on that. Yeah. This is about protecting the adults, free speech rights. And, but instead, because he's a lawyer, he can't say anything bad about his client, and lawyers never want to lose anything. He comes up with some kind of infuriating answer. If it infuriates me, I can assure you it's making the justices angry, right? Yeah. But that's his stupid answer, right? Agreed. And then here's Justice Sonia Sotomayor. So, she's just saying, hey, if you're an adult, she's saying the rights of adults to engage in free speech and free consumption of sexually explicit content needed guarantees. All right. Yeah. So Moore, she's a little more liberal justice, but I think they sort of all agree now that adults ought to be able to look at porn. Yeah. But I'm going to remind everybody, when these cases first started coming out in the late 50s and 60s, they did not all agree that adults ought to be able to look at pornography. Okay. Sure. This is how far our society has fallen. But all right. We think some type of age verification is going to stay in force here. That's going to be a big case, right? Because it failed 20 years ago. We think Texas is conservative state is going to get some victory here, and I think that's a good thing. I think if you want to, look, I'm not going to say I don't want to condone, I don't want to encourage people to go out there and look at porn, but if you're going to do it, I don't think it's unreasonable to ask you to upload your license. Austin, when I'm filing all these 1099s and doing everybody's taxes, I'm the firm tax compliance guy, right? I have to almost give blood to be able to get into the IRS website right now. I have to give my driver's license. I have to go through photograph just to be able to upload certain kinds of information returns. Yep. So if I've got to do all that, I don't feel that bad for the guy down the street that's popping on to look at a porn site and put his ID, take a photo of his ID. That's just where I am on that thing. So, all right.
And if you feel hesitant to upload your ID or something because of shame or something like that, then maybe you shouldn't be doing it.
Yeah, probably. Yeah. It might. The porn people know the porn site people know that it's like gambling, right? Yeah. Like they know they have a problem and they know they shouldn't be looking at so much porn. Yeah. And the porn site people know that if they do this one extra step, it's going to take some percentage of their traffic down. Sure. And that's money to the porn people. That's what this is about. It's just, it's all about money. So, yeah, of course. And I'm, these porn people get up there, and the ACLU, which they ought to take a flamethrower to that place, wherever the whole lot of them. The ACLU is up there. They're in bed with the porn people, and but anyway, all right. So we got to answer legal questions. We've had so much news out of the Supreme Court. We have one legal question we're going to try to knock out. Is it a good idea for a trustee for your sibling to be a trustee for your sibling after mom and dad die? So, Austin, this isn't like you a minor sibling. This is more like, let's say you have
Special needs.
no, not even that. This question is about we had somebody ask. It's more of like a sibling. I mean, yes, bipolar order disorder can be special needs, but highly functional people that may suffer from mental health, or just like an irresponsible sibling, like we all have. Those maybe those a lot of
Sure.
us have brothers or sisters that are spendthrifts or
Sure.
or just irresponsible people. And mom and dad, is okay. Well, I've worked, my whole life, and I've saved up a little bit of money, and I don't want, the youngest child to go blow
Mm.
all my savings on, cars and kind of gambling or whatever. Maybe
Yep.
maybe the youngest child has a gambling, something like that.
Mm.
And mom and dad have a will, and their idea is we want to take the responsible sibling and make him the trustee, right?
Mm.
I just got done watching the HBO John Adams series. I don't know if you ever saw that, but John Adams had the oldest child was John Quincy Adams. He was the very responsible, mature child that went on to become the 6th president of the United States.
Yep.
And then he also had a child Charles Adams, who became an alcoholic. And this would be like if, I think Charles Adams died prematurely, but assuming he had not died prematurely, it's like if John and Abigail, mom and dad, wanted John Quincy, the responsible son, to be trustee for the alcoholic son, right?
Yes.
And you can see the problems that this is going to create because you've got this tension now.
Yeah.
So should they do it? Well, you can.
Up to you.
It's
a lot of work. Yeah.
It's a lot of work. I mean, if you want to create those kinds of dynamics with your sibling, you can. But this is called a testamentary trust.
Mm.
And this trust is created as part of a will. And mom and dad basically put in their will the last one to die. If it goes to Charles gets, half of the estate, the assets, but they're left to Charles in trust with John Quincy as trustee. And you'll typically see this language for health, education, maintenance, and support. And that's a common term used in estate planning language. And then every time Charles wants to do something, he's like, okay, well, I want to go to Paris and I want to go see museums and study art. And that's for my health, maintenance, and support. But really what Charles wants to do is just go over there and get drunk all the time, right?
Yep. Okay.
And John Quincy then says, no, you can't do that. That's not for your health, education, maintenance, and support. And John Quincy is constantly having to administer these proceeds. It's a big pain.
Yeah.
So you can do it. Yes. If you call our law firm, we can do it, or another estate planning law firm can do it. It's a little bit more expensive to do that. It may be well worth it. Right. And it may be a good thing for Charles, who's irresponsible, the irresponsible kid. And it may be a good thing for mom and dad. They don't feel like their life savings is being squandered. Right. So there is a professional trustee option. Those are expensive. Do you have the pricing on those, Austin? So
yeah, it's between like 1 to 2 to like 4%, right? Something like that.
Yeah. If you have a small amount of money, like, I mean, it's not going to. If you've saved $1 million your whole life, that's not a small sum. I get it, but you can't deal with irresponsible children as a trustee day in and day out for a small amount of money, for 10 grand a year. Yeah. So your entire, the corpus of the trust, the assets in the trust are going to be eaten up very quickly with a small amount if you're hiring professional trustee services. So professional trustee services are normally only make sense for larger assets. So,
yes.
All right, that's the answer to that. Yes, you can do it, and those are the problems, and that's how that goes. All right, that brings us to my favorite part of the show. It's our rant and rave section. This is just a very small rant and rave, like a teeny tiny rant, Austin. So
okay, teeny.
Have you used Gemini before or not?
I think
really?
Anyone who has searched on Google recently has used Gemini, right?
That's
it
quite
provides
true.
a little AI summary at the top. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think it's as good as ChatGPT. Yeah. So, but you can use it. Google just released Gemini AI as part of their standard Google Business Suite. All right. So that's our firm uses that. Anytime you're in Google Docs or Drive, you'll now see the little Gemini thing up in the right. It's kind of like a star thing, right? And you can have it help you. Do you remember Clippy, or are you too young? You remember Clippy?
Of course I remember Clippy. It was the most
Okay.
fucking annoying thing on the computer.
Clippy was the
Looks
little.
like you're trying to make a document. Can I help with that? And it's like, no, you can't.
Clippy is like, was like the original AI, but it was just real stupid. And it was part of Microsoft's kind of thing. And it was pretty useless. Gemini is a little bit more helpful than Clippy. Okay. To give Gemini some credit. I was preparing for the podcast and I was trying to put some of these updates, these Supreme Court updates together. And I just said, hey, Gemini, check the internet, give me a basic summary of Trump's hush money case.
Yep.
And the response I got from Gemini, Austin, is, I'm sorry, I'm still learning. I can't help you with that. Is there anything else I may help you with? And I'm like, what? Like, you had no problem summarizing the TikTok case, no problem doing these other things, but all of a sudden you mentioned Trump, and it can't do it. Now, in fairness to both sides of the aisle, I also asked it, could you summarize Joe Biden's farewell speech, right? Mm-hmm. And it gave me the same answer. So at least Google now is being fair to both Democrats and Republicans. But the rant here is, why does it have to lie? Why can't Google just program it to say, I'm sorry, my programmers have instructed me not to be political? Why can't it just say that? Why does it have to lie? So
I don't know.
That brings our show to a close. But before
too obvious,
too obvious. Austin, before we close, we're talking about Gemini trying to summarize Joe Biden's farewell speech. I've got to ask you.
Sure.
Are you worried about an oligarchy in the United States by tech people? That was what his farewell speech was.
Yeah, I know.
The listeners may not know. If you didn't see Joe Biden's farewell speech, Biden basically said, we now live in an oligarchy run by tech people.
Yeah, I mean,
is it a concern, Austin?
I do think it's a concern.
I'm worried about it too. So
because with how much influence social media companies have in the way that they run their algorithms, etc., if they want a particular candidate to win, then they can definitely do things to push stuff along that way in a manner that would be favorable to them.
Yeah, it's a problem. We're this is going to be maybe for another show, but I'm concerned about it. I'm going to leave everybody with this: the front row seats at the inauguration on January 20th. Okay, and I'm considering myself a conservative libertarian, right?
Yeah.
Mostly libertarian. Front row seats at the inauguration, January 20th. TikTok CEO Shou Chew. Okay, Meta CEO, Facebook, Instagram, Mark Zuckerberg. Amazon CEO Jeff Bezos. I don't know if Jeff Bezos is still the Amazon CEO or not, but Amazon guy Jeff Bezos. Mm-hmm. Elon Musk, all right, Tesla, Twitter, and maybe soon to be TikTok. I wonder how awkward that's going to be for if they sit Elon and Shou Chew next to each other. Maybe it's like wink, wink. Who cares who's really running TikTok or the Chinese?
I think they're all buddies. They're all in a club, and you're not part of it.
Right. They're front row at the inauguration for the President of the United States. Yeah. And I'm not a Biden fan, but I think he had one, valuable points, as I like to say, not my original thought, but even like an alcoholic who had a moment of clarity. I think Biden struck a chord on his way out. Yeah. And that brings our show to a close. I've been your host, Phil Silverman. Austin Black has been my co-host. Like us, follow us, review us wherever you get your podcast. Mm. As a reminder, nothing in the show is to be considered legal advice, and this has all been for entertainment purposes only. If you have a legal question, email us at info@silblawfirm.com, info@silblawfirm.com. Tell us you want it publicly answered in the podcast. We'll do our best. Everybody, enjoy the rest of your week and have a good weekend.
Thanks so much. Bye.